Child hunger in Venezuela, addressing this crisis through program implementation and evaluation. Jessica Hubbard. Problem statement and magnitude. The humanitarian hunger crisis affecting Venezuelan infants, children, and their mothers is directly related to the economic dissolution by a corrupt dictatorial government. 84% of Venezuelans say that their food situation is poor. Half of those state that it's dire. Infant mortality rates have increased 30% from 2015 and 2016, and maternal mortality has increased 65%. There is a political crisis also that is evolving daily between who is recognized as president, Nicolas Maduro or Juan Guaido. This adds to chaos and instability for Venezuelans. Policy specialist role. I would outline the problem with this statement in a summary. I would develop policy alternatives based on evidence-based practice. I would evaluate policy options using critical thinking skills, and I would provide testimony, which is an excellent way to showcase projected outcomes. The social ecological model at an individual level includes basic statistics about Venezuelans. 96% of them are Roman Catholic. This belief system helps them cope with life and death, and their faith is very important to them. Prayer helps the individual to cope with the death of an infant, child, or mother. Poverty rates in Venezuela are rapidly increasing, with infant mortality rates skyrocketing. So this type of individual level is very helpful to the people of Venezuela. At an interpersonal level, this deals with social networks, social media, peers, and coworkers. One example would be a pharmacist that uses Twitter to gain access to insulin and other medications. A hindrance to this level is fear within families to speak up and out against the government. They are very afraid of Maduro. At an organizational level, one example would be Cuatro por Venezuela. It is an organization that was founded by 4 Venezuelan women living in the United States. It's a professional organization, and they've delivered 21,000 pounds of goods to the people. They've saved countless lives. One day after the 2016 data was published from the health minister, she was fired due to disclosing the increase in infant and. At a community level, there are some grassroots organizations that are developing community gardens, even in the slums of Caracas. A hindrance to this community level comes from the media outlets in Venezuela. The 3 biggest networks are actually owned and have ties to the corrupt government. They do not offer full transparency, and they actually outright lie to the people of Venezuela. At a policy level, there are some organizations that are helping. The Pan America Health Organization and the World Health Organizations. There has been rampant corruption and zero transparency from data sources. So I have proposed 3 interventions. Each one is evidence-based, and I'm hoping that it will be utilized to combat the malnutrition in children and infants. The first one is to encourage, promote, and support breastfeeding in the maternal population. The next is an evidence-based teen pregnancy prevention program. And third is a program that addresses food security and food deserts. Some of the actions that go with this would be to educate women on the benefits and cost effectiveness of breastfeeding, providing sex education to the schools for teens, and providing contraceptive methods. Also creating food pantries and community gardens. Some of the proposed evaluations for the breastfeeding evidence-based practice would be, out of 1,000 women, increasing the number of women who have been educated on breastfeeding by 20% over 3 months. This would be a short-term goal. Increasing the number of women who are still breastfeeding at 12 months, goal of 50%, would be a medium. Long-term goals would be to decrease the number of infant and child deaths associated with malnutrition within a 12-month period, and have well-established breastfeeding support groups located in 75% of all hospitals within a 12-month period. The second proposed evaluation is on teen pregnancy, with N being 1,000. A short-term goal would have 60% of parental consent for sex education classes in schools within 3 months. Also assessing teens' health literacy and beliefs on pregnancy. Utilize this data for long-term outcomes. Hopefully 75% of teens previously assessed understand sexual health, contraception, and teen pregnancy. End goal would be to decrease teen pregnancy rates within a 12-month period. Increase parental consent for sex education in schools to 80% within a 6-month period. Proposed evaluation for food security. I used N as 10,000, so just kind of postulating maybe a very small village, starting out with that kind of number. First, having transportation, licensed drivers, and trained in delivering foods within 3 months of the program. Have a working system of donations and allocation of food purchases within 6 months. Have access to gardens, actively supplying foods within 6 months. Hopefully having a surplus of funding for goods and foods within 12 months. 20% increase in number of volunteers able to donate vehicles and transport food. That would be a medium outcome. And decrease the amount of deaths and malnutrition within 12 months. That would potential challenges. Certain barriers do exist. Corrupt governments that are not acknowledging that there is a humanitarian crisis. There is zero transparency from Maduro right now to the people and actually to the world. They have not released data in years, and I'm sure that that is because it is completely abysmal. They are actually not willing to accept foreign aid. The president has denounced America. Other countries have been trying to give them and their people food, nourishment, infant formula, and he has refused. Other barriers would be obviously funding fiduciary support. If the government is in an economic crisis, they're not able to feed their people, then we would have to get donations from outside sources. I think the easiest way to do that would be to collect it online and then purchase the materials and the foods and the goods within the country. Solutions would to be approach global health agencies and military as last resort. There has been discussion about a civil war happening in the country, and Venezuela has close ties to Russia and China. So it's very much a very corrupt situation right now. People live in fear and they're scared to accept aid. Collaborative points. It would have to be working with international agencies and large donors like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We would need a massive amount of money to help this country and get its economic growth back on track. The entire situation changes almost daily. It is completely labile. And because they're not willing to accept support from outside sources, they're having a lot of refugees leaving the country also, which does not help economic growth either. That only fuels humanitarian crisis when people are displaced. So I think ultimately that Maduro needs to either step down as president or be removed as president, and Juan Guaidó needs to take his place and turn this country around. Thank you.